I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and welcome to our second attempt at making history this week, where hopefully for the first time ever we're going to see a player from Luxembourg compete in the international qualifier. Sorry, for the 2026 Carcassonne Champions League. We're talking about the series of Q2 tournaments, the second international qualification tournaments designed for national online championship winners of newer participating countries such as Luxembourg, such as Egypt, such as Denmark, to some extent also Greece. Anyway, so what you see on the screen is the grid from the I sub tournament of the second international qualification tournaments. Just bear with me, it's a little bit complicated. Well, the grid itself isn't that complicated actually. So for this one we had 6 participants at the start. The top 2 are going to qualify for the main stage of the 2026 Carcassonne Champions League this January. The first player is the Peruvian with a screen name Hyphenhorst, who defeated on stream a few days ago the Dane with a screen name is Hubert1234. So the Peruvian has qualified. The Dane has been relegated to the consolation finals, where he's awaiting his opponent, and his opponent is going to be one of these here guys. So whoever wins today is going to be either the Luxembourgian with a screen name Taporti, or the Greek expert Georgios Kyriazides, who actually finished 8th at the in-person World Championship, sorry, 8th or 7th, something like this, in the top 8. In the in-person World Championship. His screen name is Asketos, so whoever wins here, they will compete against the Egyptian with a screen name Tamara Abdelkader. And then whoever wins there, closer to the end of the year, will try on the Danish expert for the spot in the main stage of the Carcassonne Champions League. So it's always great to see newer players from newer countries, the Carcassonne scene expanding, and we have somebody actually with 8,000 games of online experience and pretty much solid rating of 450, so which is nearly expert status. So this means that Asketos will need to work actually quite hard for this one. But of course, the Greek player being a highest 100 rating point above, and also having more experience in international tournaments, both in person, in teams, and online as well, they are expected to be the favorite here. And away we go. We have our usual 15-minute format per game. The starting player honor goes to the Greek player with the green meeples, Taporti with his red meeples to match one of the colors of the Luxembourgian flag. Do not confuse it with the Dutch, as red could have picked up the city cap. Green also should have picked up the city cap. Now we can see that it appears that red is a bit overly protective of their road, but nevertheless they're the first of the 2 players to get on the scoreboard. 3 points for red, and Asketos with an aggressive move here tries to equalize the road whilst also completing his city. Taporti now can either grab the city cap, finish his city that he already started, or if he wants to be more aggressive, to go over here. Exactly, and this move has multiple purposes. He's now trying to invade this here area, and he's also poking at this here city a little bit, so I have no doubt. Actually, why do I say this? I have a lot of doubts. But one of the possible moves that red can make right now is go over here and try to invade that city, and red finds this a very nice combo, preventing Asketos from completing a rather sizable city here. But 4 points go to the Greek player's scoreboard nevertheless. And he's currently now ahead. Taporti with a lovely tile to pick off this empty city cap. Still 3 meeples in hand, absolutely worth to do so. We're going to see a restriction of one of the cities. A bit surprising that we see the restriction on the less valuable of the 2 cities. And also this restriction would have been slightly better because there are fewer tiles to complete that city in the first place because of the dagger asymmetry. 2 dagger tiles with the curve to the left have already been drawn, whereas only 1 tile with the curve to the right has been drawn. Looks like taporti is going to get away with a big city over here. He has to prolong his city over here. Although, it's not crazy to go here. It's a very, very interesting idea. I rather like this. It's a partial block. There is now only one tile left that fit into the square, but the Greek player, in the meantime, is now trying to attack this here city with a second meeple at the top. If he gets a triple city, this city is going to be worth 16 or 18 points. However, taporti finishes a city off his own. Chooses to finish the one which wasn't threatened, but was a little bit bigger in points. Now, this here guy is a little bit threatened. There's quite a neat idea of saving that city. We can go like this. Chooses not to do that. That makes a lot of sense. He's now trying to create a threat against this here city, possibly invading it. Not right now. Not right now. We need to be safe here. Maybe we just take the 4 points, actually. And we're still going to have 2 tiles that remaining to fit into the square. This is what I would go for. There are a lot of coin flips that we can win. Note how red dropped a farmer already pretty early on, anticipating the completion of all these cities, anticipating eventually a 9-point monastery in this square drawn by either party. So this farmer will expand, and if this farmer does not expand, this will mean that this square never gets filled, which red is absolutely fine with. This is actually a very interesting move. Starting a new city, which also is an indirect block against this here square. Now, of course, none of that works, as a triple city tile is drawn by the Krieg player, and an 18-point city, because of the shield, was completed. Now taporti a little bit behind. But still, I would be absolutely comfortable playing red in this position. Red takes a road, red has the lead in the farm, red can still win the coin flip for this here area for 9 points. Kind of a critical tile as to who gets the monastery first. Asketos, of course, now tries to block taporti's city, but taporti wins the coin flip for 9 points. And now equalizes basically everything on the scoreboard. Great position for red now, but Asketos punches back with 8 points for the city on the right. Those shielded tiles are an absolute menace. Regular monastery for the Luxembourgian. Not many great places to put it. Hi, Diamond Meeple. Hi, Nicola. Hi, Nicola. Okay. Oh no, misclick by taporti. This is a clearly misclick. Of course, he meant to, they meant to take the 2 points over here, right? And fortunately for them, it does not cost 2 meeples. It only cost them 2 points, so it's not such a big deal, but almost a disaster there. Just gotta play a little bit slower. Gotta click that mouse a little bit less aggressively. taporti now with a chance to save his city here. Probably gonna go like this. Probably gonna meeple the new city. It is a bit dangerous, but we still gotta do it. 2 tiles that fit into this square is a lot of equity. High Crafty chooses not to do. Chooses to take just 3 points for the road. That's a little bit greedy over here. So red is basically saying that they can win this game without finishing their city. I doubt the validity of this here statement. As also 4 quick points go to Asketos's scoreboard. Now, I don't like red's position this much. Red's farm isn't all that great, although it could expand if this here city completes, if a road monastery is drawn into this here area. Now, if this here city completes, this of course would be disastrous. Asketos quite smartly blocking the shared city, not allowing the field expansion. Now, maybe thinking of dropping a farmer of his own to equalize the newly placed farmer of red. No! Instead, he chooses to equalize the city, which should be music. Music to the Luxembourgians' ears. Because this city is not really all that great. There are only 2 tiles that fit into this square. Asketos being ahead does not really need to have risks like this. His city now gets restricted. Now this farmer feels very comfortable with 6 points and impending 9 points and no platform for re-attacking if this here city gets finished. So green is playing as if he is in an equal position, but I think green could have been playing as if they are ahead, which they are. Hi, Ian. Yeah, I wonder what you do by taporti now. Yeah, that's a lovely decision, trying to block that here city. Asketos really with not a lot of ideas how to save it, but he chooses to go for a blocking move off on his own. And taporti manages to get himself a meeple back. Only 5 points is he behind on the scoreboard. Asketos is trying to block some blocking opportunities, but taporti is probably going to take care of the menacing city on the right. There's a way to deliver a Sophie's Choice block if at the almost expert level people know their tactics. I'm not sure if they do. So a very standard decision is to do something like this and start a new city. Instead, a more precise blocking would have been to go over here and to create the necessity for both road city tiles to be drawn in this area. But instead, a completely different strategy from taporti. They chose to create another coin flip for a road monastery. This time green prevails, and this will mean really a lot for green. Also some quick points, blocking the development of the field, creating a counter field for 6 points. Green now is in a fantastic position, and all that was unnecessary. taporti could have been just fine going over here and enjoying the advantage in these here parts, but it's still alright. Well, up until that move, as Asketos cashes on one of his city recovering tiles ahead, 17 points right now. taporti's probably gonna block, as they should, right before Asketos was going to connect to that city, so this is quite smart. Now, the best that the Greek expert can do is only take 2 points. And yeah, taporti with not the greatest tile. Nothing much to do with it. Could maybe go a bit crazy and take away one of the city caps. Chooses just to do exactly this, but without a meeple, which also makes sense. Another quick point tile for the ascetic player. And a monastery now for red. Uses it to expand the field a little bit, and now another coin flip goes green's way. 6 points have been scored already, 27 points extra on the scoreboard, and the monastery to come. And there's even actually still a dagger tile to finish this city, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not mistaken, I just checked. Georgios now with probably a move that's going to give him 1 point, just expanding his 1 point ruin at the top. Instead goes for 6 points, which also makes a lot of sense. This field was the highest scoring feature currently available to either player. And still a very good chance to finish this monastery, which could be prevented, maybe? Not with that. And more quick points goes Greek's way. Nearly 30 points extra on the scoreboard. The coin flip for the dagger has been won by red. Probably going to drop it somewhere in one of his fields. Trying to get 7 points for that city completion. I presume it has to be the field on the right, as the field on the left does not have many very good platforms. And depending on the number of the city caps available in the deck, I think there's at least one. Let me just do a quick scan. There might be 2. Oh, instead he goes for the field here, which also is understandable. The idea, of course, is to go for the field and then get a meeple back by finishing this here city, which is exactly what he does. So this is actually some nice calculation on taporti's part, except that Asketos managed to clean off the city cap at the top. And an easy 2-point move now for the Greek player is available, if that's what he chooses. Yeah, and this is exactly that. You have to meeple that 1-point road so that you spend all your meeples productively. 4-point city for red is available. on the very, very right. But you have to calculate a little bit regarding the orientation of that tile, but undoubtedly we're going to see a move somewhere in this area. And Asketos will take 3 points as his last meal. Sweet 3 field points. Eventually Red will outscore Green significantly on the fields, but the scoreboard, the completed features, the cities, the monasteries, and especially this here city with as many as 3 shielded tiles, this of course is just too painful to overcome. And the match favorite prevailed in the first one. So Taporti has 2 more games. Reminder to you all that this is the best of 3, where he can still prove himself. Green also has a few field points for a comfortable 18 points win. As a result of this game, Taporti has a neat looking 444 rating. The rating, of course, a very volatile thing, changes after every single game. That's why normally when you measure players' ability, it has to be a mix of statistics, for example, peak rating or average rating over a course of a long period of time, such as a year, is a metric that is used. Alrighty, so let them see if they manage to come back. Some stats perhaps from the Greek player. They do play quite fast. As a result, they have played nearly 6,000 games. This also includes the games from international tournaments, such as the World Team Carcassonne Online Championship. They were even the captain of Team Greece for a couple of years. Taporti, possibly in their last game, in their last tournament game of 2025, they will do everything they can to make it not so, but the randomizer of starting players is not kind to them, as Asketos gets to start the game for the 2nd time in a row. Taporti with a non-standard response, which is well, a little bit imprecise because we leave this road end to grab for our opponent, but the idea, of course, is to start restricting the square, to get another road, get some more blocking, and so far this pays off, as a road tile has not been drawn by Green. Green gets a city tile, rather uncomfortable one at that. If he were the 2nd player, it would be tempting to go here and force your opponent to discard a monastery. This move makes a little bit more sense, as it is just a way to build up a city, maybe with a Dorito tile to create the threat in the future. Taporti picks up one of the nicest possible tiles, starting a new city and also indirectly continuing his road. Asketos, of course, is not going to continue his city at the top. He's going to build efficiently and also try to pressure the square a little bit. Taporti can now kind of fill the square. I wouldn't do this. If I were red, I would go here, start a new city, and not leave the city cap here exposed. It's a bit too unfortunate. Red, maybe they're a bit afraid of getting blocked over here, and so they chose to do that, but this results into giving the city cap away to the Greek expert. Kind of leaving empty city caps is a common pitfall that I see players, or just being inefficient with their tiles at a level of, up to 600 rating points perhaps in the opening. And this forces now Taporti in a suboptimal city placement, one which makes his road a little bit more vulnerable. Asketos, however, with a bit of an unexpected move, kind of breaking his city a little bit, because now it will be much, much harder to complete. I think it was a bit stronger to go here, because now red with tempo can create a blocking threat against the square. It sort of forces green to double and triple down on the city and go here and start building this Death Star-shaped city? Well, almost. So the Death Star is when you have 4 Doritos like this, and you have 2 triple cities, 4 triple cities here, and you have this here, one sweet candy in the center. The only difference from this shape is, of course, this here road segment, which doesn't really do all that much. So almost a classic Death Star-shaped city, but now red gets a chance to invade it, so a very timely tile. Red also found this lovely blocking move, or at least restriction move, against this here square. So there are now only 3 tiles that left to fit here. It also makes it pretty much impossible for green to finish this here city without repercussions, because if he does so, this will expose a blocking platform from this square. And speaking of blocking platforms, red created one from this here square above, because green is now trying to invade all the way here, and red will need to now make a very difficult decision. So, we see that this here square is starting to get restricted, and if we don't do nothing about it, then our opponent can go here and go here and go here and block this here square. And that's why red decides to connect. But the reason why red hesitated was, first of all, is that was a shielded tile that he would have loved to use over here instead, and second, because now there is a credible threat of green going over here and over here with 2 Doritos and eating up this here city alive with the meeple on the right. And that is why taporti sacrifices a road end, a valuable road end, to try and create this blocking square to eliminate the opportunity, and maybe even to create a chance of blocking green's meeple entirely. So lovely demonstration of discipline from the Luxembourgian, who is now being rewarded by 10 points, 7 points on the scoreboard. Asketos now managing to get him back from this dangerous situation, also having himself a 6-point monastery. Overall, a decent position for green. The one downside is the decreased safety of this here meeple. Asketos now finds a lovely tile for himself. This prevents this here city from being completed too soon. And taporti has a nasty, nasty response available to him, but it's a move which is very, very difficult to see. So what you gotta do here... Oh, that's actually maybe even better than what I was suggesting, but the spirit is certainly right. I'm loving this. I'm loving this. The move that I would have suggested is the same move, but orientating the tile in another way to create a hole here for a triple-shaped city. Because now what can happen is that this guy can complete itself for 10 points, just sacrificing this here guy. If red were to have turned the other way, there was actually quite a good chance of having all 3 meeples of green in that area completely blocked, pretty much taking advantage of the extreme shortage of triple cities in the deck. As you can see, 6 triple city tiles already on the board, meaning that 2 of them only are remaining. And so this here square was one which was quite difficult to fill. Now that green has created the threat of covering up his city, red actually found a pretty good way to go about this. Yeah, I'm loving this. Green now building up his monastery. Red's probably going to finish his city over here. And still, there's a pretty good chance of green losing 2 of his meeples. Red is ahead 11 points. Asketos now needs to find some sort of compensation. He can now score 3 points at the top. Or he can maybe meeple an even bigger road, and he goes for an even bigger road. That's very nice board vision here. With any of the 5 remaining curves, he can complete this road. And he gets one immediately, and does he drop a farmer? And he has the discipline not to. taporti with a meeple advantage, thinking of maybe dropping a farmer somewhere with his city cap tile. These double city cap tiles, the parallel ones or the diagonal ones, are quite useful for dropping farmers. And he does exactly that. Let's see where the meeple goes. It goes on the city, which is also reasonable. It's also reasonable. It's trying to just create a vulnerability in this square, as somehow Ashetos is able to defend himself. There is now a pretty good chance of this here city being completed with 2 starting tiles or something like that. Yeah, Taporti keeps pressuring, gets himself 8 points at the bottom, and exposes 2 very dangerous squares in at least one of the cities of green. So will he be able to block at least one of them? He's thinking whether it's worth meepling the city cap, and he decides that it is. It is a rather safe meepling decision. Ashetos scores 3 points. -6 on the scoreboard only, and a lot of threats. Taporti now with a chance to block something perhaps, or maybe not. He chooses to continue his road indirectly. That's quite a neat way to go about this. An alternative was going to go over here and invade the city, but Red figures out that by increasing the safety of his road and also indirectly adding 4 points to it, he's going to accomplish more. Ashetos with the first field of the game. Lovely farmer, 6 points, potentially 9, potentially 12 if all these cities get completed. A fantastic tile for Taporti. Has to finish his farmer. He will be thinking about the direction of the orientation of this tile. Do we point down or do we point up? I think we point down. We want to keep the square unobstructed because we want to place a curve over here eventually to block both of these here guys. And no, Taporti, no, 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 no. This, unfortunately, is a grave mistake, as the Greek fans will absolutely love that move. The reason the Greek fans will love that move is that this invasion of the city that Red has committed will solve all the meeple safety issues for Green. Because now the safety of this here guy is tied to the safety of this here guy, and Red will not be able to block anything. So generally, you don't want to be attacking vulnerable cities, which can be blocked in multiple spots. You want to just commit to the blocking bit. Yeah, Taporti is going to suffer because of this one. He has a lot of points on the scoreboard, admittedly, but it's a still good position for Green. Like, Green has threats. Green has a 6-point monastery threat that he has set up for himself. Although Taporti gets a nice tile, finishes the city, drops a farmer for 6 points to indirectly equalize this guy. This is nice. There's a long road coming, which will be meepled by either party, maybe by Green if Green gets one of the 2 remaining starting tiles to fill the square and finish the 12-point city. But it is only Taporti who will be finishing the cities on this turn. Not a big city, just a little 4-pointer, just a little Schengen over here. Whereas Ashetos here with not quite Athens, but maybe Thessaloniki. So 25 points is the lead on the scoreboard. Ashetos now needs to find his best setup turn, which is going over here, which he does not notice, but it's also a decent idea, actually. Yeah, I'm actually loving this turn. So first of all, he chooses to go here and limit this here meeple. But now this allows Red to do what Green didn't do, namely to go over here and to preemptively meeple this road as compensation for the future completion of this city. Because since as Red we are ahead, despite all the wonderful setup of Ashetos, the 25 points on the scoreboard are still 25 points. Then we can sacrifice a meeple here. Yeah, exactly. He knows his tactics. He knows his anticipation tactics. And of course, he will be meepling this road and getting a 6-point road as a compensation for a 12-point completed city. Another Dorito tile has been drawn by Ashetos, who is building barricades rather skillfully. This here 9-point farmer is virtually impenetrable. This here 6-point farmer as well, but it also won't grow in all likelihood, so Definitely the mini farmers battle benefits green here. Also, this Dorito tile is lovely because red now has only one tile left to connect to this square, equalizing his 1-point city with a 5-point piece of green. Taporti now gets a tile with not many great ideas, and he uses the tile for rather a good idea. He's trying to create a square from which he could invade this here field, but he gets immediately shut down by this cow from Greece. The monastery blocking attempt was unsuccessful as Ashetos cashes on one of his setups. Still behind on the scoreboard. Taporti now needs to choose between scoring points, which was what I would prefer. Oh, loving this move. Yes, yes, yes. Not only do we score 4 points, but we also score them with that particular orientation so that if a starting tile is drawn by red, red can pick up these 4 points, whereas green has a different use for a starting tile already. Green, in the meantime, is close to completing their second monastery, but a fantastic tile for red. The highest scoring opportunities to score 3 points over here, leaving the city cap open. This is a higher variance move, but one which red should welcome just because it's so high on equity. Doing anything else would be a point sacrifice, and he makes a point sacrifice for more stability in the position. I'm not sure if at this score we're comfortable doing this, because there are ways how green can come back into this. Green is now going to finish this here monastery, and as red, I really would have loved to drop that city cap in my field instead of my opponent's field, but whatever. Green now with a monastery tile. With 10 tiles remaining, maybe it's time to start placing meeples on things, but the board is rather dry. I do like, however, that idea of the 3-point farmer. Yeah, it's honestly not crazy, and I think this 3-point farmer beats a 5-point monastery. The main idea is to not allow Ashetos to drop a farmer upon the completion of his city. So the fact that this farmer is scoring only 3 is not such a big deal, given the fact that Taporti is overall ahead. Moreover, if Taporti does draw one of the 2 remaining starting tiles, there's this here piece from which he'll be able to score 7 points, 4 for the city and 3 for the farm. Ashetos, in the meantime, does not have the luxury to go for 3-point farms because of the asymmetries in the position and goes for the 5-point monastery instead. How about you make that a 6-point monastery if we just go over here? He chooses to expand a different square, which is okay, but this gives back a 3-point road to Taporti, who's gonna take it. After some deliberation, still doing okay on the clock, 4 minutes, and 4 more moves to be played by the Luxembourgian. The endgame shouldn't be that complicated to calculate. It's going to be more complicated for Ashetos, who's going to need some comeback ideas, as the 17 extra points on the scoreboards are not combated by this farmer and monastery and city. Those are nowhere near enough. Taporti could even meeple a ruin right now for 5 points. That would not be crazy. I'm talking about maybe this one here or this one here. Instead, he makes a move which is actually not the best. It's a 0-point move, and one which could cost him even more points. Yeah, okay, so Ashetos does get himself a meeple back. Actually, only netting just a couple of points. And Taporti is gonna now just play out. Meeple Monastery for 4. and still preserve his lead. But the thing what I'm a bit worried about, the reason why I didn't like that move is because as I see it, there's still one more tile that fits into the square. And if the shared city is completed, then the green farmer will get its development. And now I realize that red's farmer will also get its development because actually that city here is on red's field. But this is only after this starting tile was placed over here. If this starting tile is not placed over here, then this here city is in green's field. And also there were some interesting scenarios actually how green, with this here turn, green could have gone over here and dropped a farmer, and I think this is what green missed. So green could go here and drop a farmer. And then try to invade the 6-point field of red through this here square just to be super efficient. Yeah, green is now trying to build up a city at the bottom. Based on this monastery move, it appears that he's going to be successful because I assume the purpose of this here monastery move was to try and block this here city building opportunity. Because you only play a 2-point monastery instead of a 4-point monastery. You only going to make this point sacrifice if you've counted that there's a city cap in the deck to complete that city. So taporti with a 3-point farm now, and Ashetos is going to get a city cap tile and going to finish the city at the bottom. Is that enough to come back? Maybe. Oh, it's gonna be close. Oh, it's gonna be so close. So taporti could have had 3 points with optimal endgame play. Let's see what is the result of all of this. The farmer is going to be very close. taporti has more field points because of these here top bits. But green has this here farmer over here. And Ashetos wins by 4 points. That is quite the turnaround. This has to hurt a lot for the player with the red meeples. Let's try and make some calculations. So with the monastery, what was the correct move? Well, the correct move, so if they were to go here for 4 points, then they would have scored 4 more after going here and adding another monastery point. So they would have only scored 3 points extra comparison to what they had in the game. So the move for red, and I think this wasn't impossible to figure out, the move for red was actually to not protect against this here city being completed. Because it's anyway, it's in red's field, so it wasn't a big deal. But the move, of course, was to go here with 4 points on this monastery. And this would block this square and not allow green to create any significant threats. So the Greek expert managed to sneak one by, and taporti, unfortunately, after a laudable idea of trying to sacrifice points to prevent his opponent from completing things, did not notice the most dangerous threat on the board. The Greek expert drew both of the city tiles and completed himself a 10-pointer at the bottom. So quite unpleasant if you are from Luxembourg watching this, still to come so close against an established experts. Even that has to be worth something. Hereby the Luxembourgian player is eliminated from the tournament. We wish them the best of luck next year and hope to see more players from Luxembourg later on. For Ashetos, he now needs to be prepared for Tamara Abdelkader from Egypt. Also the first time that Egypt would be participating. And this one would be not that easy for him because despite being heavily ahead in rating and experience, he actually lost already in round 1, 2-0. So Tamara was the one who sent Ashetos to the loser bracket in the first place. Then Denmark's Hubert sent Tamara to the losers bracket, where she's now patiently awaiting Georgios. We're going to see how this develops later. With that, our broadcast will be over shortly. Just wanted to remind you that there is another broadcast a little bit more than an hour from now, where we'll be seeing the Qualification 1. So these are experienced masters. Duel between David Faraci of the United Kingdom and Daniel Ayala of Mexico. So both masters, very high level encounter. Also for the tournament life of both of these players, should be fun to watch. So I'm going to see you in an hour. If you are concerned about missing notifications, hi Mr. Uzonas, congratulations on the win. I also thought there would be a third game. That was a complete swindle on your part, so very nicely spotted city threat. Yeah, so if y'all are worried about missing the next stream, then of course the best way to stay up to date is to subscribe to this channel for more competitive Carcassonne content and click the bell notification icon. Before leaving, if you liked anything about this, make sure to indicate so by meepling the like button. It's very good for the algorithm, more than you might think. And I'll see you in 75 minutes. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.